I'm learning to be strong for my daughter and for my wife. We had a couple days free out in Alesund, Norway, and I took her to dinner. And then from there, I took her to this mountaintop and pulled the ring out and proposed to her there.
What?
Will you marry me?
What?
Maggie and I are excited to announce that a baby hand rabbit.
We also announced that did a gender reveal at the wedding, which we didn't know about either. We had our baby shower, and from there, a week and a half after the baby shower, I had my MRI, and that's when they found what they found in my head. My name is Edward. I have a glioma, astrocytoma grade 3 IDH mutation. I am 32 and I live in Orlando, Florida. My passion has always been art, movies, film, anything in that realm. And from that passion and hobby, I've turned that into a career where I've been, for the last 5 years, been filming for educational television for PBS, CNBC. My first and only seizure was about fall of 2023, and I had just got done with a full day shoot. I was in Houston, Texas, and I get back to my hotel. I'm kind of dumping footage from my hard drives for the day, and completely fine. And all of a sudden, I wake up on the floor, throwing up in the hotel room trash can, and I don't know where I am. My entire body feels like I've just been working out for days and days and days, like super sore. My muscles were, and I call my wife and I tell her I don't know what happened, but I just woke up on the floor, and I don't really know where I am, like super disoriented. And when I get home, I notice that my the back right of my right arm looks like I have bruises all over it, and I realized then that I fell onto my camera case in the hotel room, which I don't remember standing up. I don't remember moving anywhere, and so I come home and I have these insane bruises on the back of my arm. After the first seizure, there really wasn't a lot of symptoms. It was it kind of it was it, it was a slow burn into the differences of what I was feeling, and it started with kind of slight head pressure in my temples that would kind of throb, 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 and if I like leaned down to pick up something, or I got up too fast, or something super simple that we do every day, and eventually that with the head throbbing, it would, right after it, once it would go away in about 30 seconds to a minute, I started getting light leaks and like light tears in my vision, and which I didn't think anything of it. Of course, I look up on the internet, what that could be, and everybody says it's like a migraine with aura. And I was like, okay, so maybe I'm just getting like small migraines. And then from there, my primary doctor at the time we kind of talked about some things of like maybe getting an MRI, but since I didn't have a history of anything, they kind of just told me like, to eat healthier and go on walks, which, that seems like a cop out sometimes. Like I had an episode in Spain where I could still see, but I couldn't really comprehend what I was seeing. And which makes it doesn't seem like it makes any sense, but I wasn't really there. Like I could still move and function, but I didn't really know what I was doing. Just kind of disorienting, which I found out later could have been a like a conscious seizure, which is kind of strange. Um, and then from there, I switched primaries because I was like, something's got to be off, and I just want to make sure everything's good. And found a new primary. They set me up with an MRI, and I almost didn't go through with the MRI because I was kind of feeling better. Things were kind of going away, and my wife was like, "No, you should still go and check, make sure everything's good." And I was like, maybe we'll see." And then one day when I was working here from home, both of my hands and my arms went numb. And I was like, okay, maybe I should just go check and see that everything is good, which at the end of the day wasn't. I've never had an MRI. So, they're telling me what to do, all these things. And, it's super casual going in. But when I come out of the MRI, they're helping me, and which I thought was kind of strange. And then from there, I see the radiologist actually standing in the door frame of the MRI, like where the MRI machine is, me and the door frame. He's standing there, and he asked me, "How'd you get here today?" And I tell him that I drove, and he's like, "Okay," kind of very, kind of hesitantly saying, "Okay," and he's like, "Well, we found a pretty significant mass in your brain in your right frontal lobe, and we think that you should go to the ER." And you know, the denial phase kind of set in very really fast, and I started asking questions there. And I get on the road and I go and I'm driving my way to the hospital, and all I'm thinking about is the fact that my daughter, I mean my wife is pregnant, and my daughter is coming in the next few weeks. And I get to the emergency room. I'm there for 5-ish hours. They admit me, and this entire time my new primary is talking to the hospital, the radiologist is talking to my primary, which was wonderful communication. And they admit me, and they show me the MRI scan of basically a tumor the size of an orange in my frontal lobe. And they tell me that we're going to be doing surgery in like the next 4 days. I got admitted to the hospital after the ER on a Wednesday, stayed the night Thursday, went home Thursday, and then from Friday to Sunday, I had all my friends over at my house. We went out and hung out at a local spot, and everybody was, you know, one, in shock, but two, very supportive. And um, come Monday, get to the hospital at around 9 a.m. And they pull me back to pre-op, hook me up with all the bells and whistles. And my buddy Joey, he's a firefighter, and he got off shift at 8 a.m. working all night, and he came straight to the hospital to see me with me and my wife. And then after like 45 minutes in the pre-op, they pull me, they wheel me back to the operating room, shoot liquid Xanax into my veins, and put whatever they put on your face to make you go to sleep, and I wake up on the 11th floor seamlessly. The surgery, super successful. They got out about 99.8% of it, because if they went any further, they could have damaged my motor movements, my speech. So the surgeon made the executive decision to just kind of hold off the rest, and we'll zap the rest with chemo and radiation. Um, and I had a gnarly scar, and I had a ton of hair too. So it was pretty impressive. They shaved just where they were doing the incision, not my whole head or anything. And so from there, recovery was about 2 months, where I had to lay in bed upright to sleep. I couldn't bend over and pick anything up. I couldn't pick up more than, it was like more than 5 pounds. So I had a little grabber claw walking around my house. And after the after the 2 months, I started 6 weeks of chemo and radiation. Once the surgery is completed, I stayed 5 days in the hospital recovering, and my oncologist at the time came in to speak about what this thing was, and my entire family's in there, and my mom is probably asking the most questions, and he tells me that it's a glioma, astrocytoma grade 3, but with an IDH mutation, which almost makes it like a 2.5. So having an IDH mutant, tumor is actually a good thing, because it kind of dumbs down the the strength of it. And we're all in there, and I'm still in a daze because nothing like this has ever happened to my family. And of course, I'm the guinea pig of getting something new in the family. So the prognosis came maybe the first visit after the hospital. So it was just me and my wife in there, and I didn't really know what a prognosis was, but my oncologist, he was like, "Do you want to know the prognosis?" And I was like, "Sure." And he tells me in front of my, again, pregnant wife, that it's about to a 10 to 12 year lifespan after after from the research that they have, and after the treatment, that they they do on people that have what I have. And I could tell that my wife was not in the right state of mind, but I've always been the one to where, like, okay, like, what do we do now? I haven't ever, I haven't dwell I don't dwell on a lot of stuff, but that was kind of eye opening, especially because in 3 weeks our daughter's going to be born, and right now I'm battling this thing, and that was very hard to handle, those emotions, because I just wanted to focus on my daughter. Unfortunately, for what I have, the options are very limited. It's we're gonna do radiation and chemo together, um, because they need to cooperate together to get the rest of that cancer out. Um, so that was a no brainer. But then after the 6 weeks of chemo and radiation together, in November till April, I did 6 months of just chemo, 5 days a month for 6 months. And my new oncologist told me that um, there's really no research or science behind if I should do chemo for a year or 6 months. Um, and, with how it was messing with my body and what little research that they had, I just, let's just do the 6 months because my quality of life was just not great. And, when it comes to radiation, now, well, now it's September, it should be kind of weaning out of my body now, but it stayed in my body for a year. And the chemo was kind of fighting with it because they're like a team. I knew a little bit about chemotherapy, but not much. The good thing about what I did is that I took pills orally at home, and so I had to eat, by 6:30 every night. Healthy food, and then I couldn't snack or eat after 6:30 because my body needed to digest all my food and almost have an empty stomach when I would take the chemo at 8:30 every night. And so that was every day. But then the radiation, I had to get fitted for a mask where every day, 5 days a week for 6 weeks, I would go in, I would lay down, they would put the mask over my face and lock it to the table and, send a laser over my head, back and forth. It would probably take around like 7 minutes. And after about 3 weeks of radiation, I started losing my hair right where the radiation was going, not from the chemo. And then, you know, from there, each month I would have like a day or two where I'm just down and out. I have to sleep, I have to rest, I can't work. It would just kind of smack me in the face with being so tired. And um, and the chemo, you know, obviously couldn't drink any alcohol. I had to be super clean with my diet, and the chemo would work best around like midnight, 1 a.m. when you're in like a REM sleep on an empty stomach. But I would wake up with stomach aches or kind of just like kind of you could just feel it like in your chest or whatever poison that that's in those pills working. Um, but towards the end of my 6 month um, chemo cycle, I did start getting like actually sick in the midday the following day. Um, so it started just accumulating in my body. After my 6 weeks of chemo radiation, I got to ring the bell. So that was fun. But after the 6 months, it was oh my God, it was a breath of fresh air. It was, I don't, I don't have to do this every single night. I don't have to have that 1 week out of my month where I feel terrible.
Is that Daddy's cute? She's smiling. That Daddy's cute. That Daddy's cute.
It's been kind of good to me because it taught me better healthy eating. Better, diet, exercise is important, vitamins, what I'm consuming. And, I lost a decent amount of weight, but it was weight that I wanted to lose. And so now it's just about keep maintaining that healthy lifestyle and exercising. And obviously I had to seek therapy because like no person can do this alone. But it's been good now. My daughter um, is everything, and I want to be everything for her. So it's given me a new perspective on life. So now if anything does come back or whatever, it's, you know, it's chemo or surgery. Biggest challenge, honestly, has been coming to terms with my prognosis. I think. I think it's really weird as a human being to almost have a ticking clock on the back of your, on like your shoulders. And, nobody I know has, something like that where they're like, oh, this and that. And I feel like, you know, as much as I feel different to everyone I know, I obviously, yeah, like what I'm going through is different. Um, but the challenge of also not like getting people to not pity me. I'm still trying to be the same, but um, also, yeah, no, okay, yeah. So another challenge is dealing with my heightened emotions. Ever since surgery, like all of your emotions are plugged into your frontal lobe, and now I have half of that. And I was really just kind of carefree, whatever happens happens, type of person, laugh it off, before my surgery. But now it's like the littlest things, could set me off. And I like anxiety, um and like anticipating bad stuff. And so it's that challenge, that's a big challenge of trying to battle all that stuff, but learn the new me. My therapist helps me a lot. She's given me kind of methods and tips to do when I do feel a certain way. And also I'm learning to be strong for my daughter and for my wife, so that we're not, you know, my so that my wife isn't stressed out with me being around all the time because of my new mood.
A day. Yeah.
But I think, being aware um, of being a good dad and husband and what that means, and focusing on that.
Remember, you can turn to any page in this book. Most of all, dear girl who I love, know that you can always, always, always turn to me.
If I get super angry, I've learned to just like, I'll just go outside for a little bit. I'll go do some yard work. I'll go, I recently got a bike, so I'm, doing early morning bike rides. Anything I can do to kind of distract my mind from what triggered me, is that's been a new tricky task. I have actually been thinking about joining some sort of support group, especially I've been in talks with one of the pastors at my church who does small groups um, for men. But it's mainly, I mean, I'm really privileged to have a village behind me when it comes to my family, my friends, my my parents' friends that I grew up with. They did like a meal train for months. They were donating, helping us financially. Everyone around me, I've been lucky that they have been incredibly supportive. And, what do I need? What do we need? What does my daughter need? And I am forever grateful for that. Perception of life has definitely changed. If somebody asks me that, the answer that I give is, it feels weird to say it, but I feel grateful to have had this happen to me, because now what I what will fulfill my life is a lot more. simple than I thought it was going to be. If that makes sense. It's the things that I want now have changed. The person I want to be has changed. Um, and I've found that I want to one of my biggest goals now is just to help other people. You need hope, but hope can come in all different forms, and I think keeping that idea of hope and positivity goes a really long way. Being positive and being hopeful can heal you. I mean, that's my opinion. And having that positive outlook can heal you and can heal people around you. You don't really know what people are going through. We all put up fronts and just be courteous, be generous. I mean, obviously it's weird to say, but life is short. But do things more for others than yourself.